What do you think are certain wrong beliefs that older generations have about Gen Z?
Many people say that we are lazy, but I know lots of people from my age that they are completely opposite to what people's stereotype is about Gen Z.
So, what would you say is the biggest life lesson that you learned?
I think the biggest life lesson is that nothing comes for free in life.
Gen Z can't function without their phones or social media. Is that true or false?
I think it's true.
They are, fragile snowflakes who can't handle criticism or different opinions from theirs. True or false?
I think it's false.
They only know how to communicate online and avoid real world interaction.
This is also true. Well,
to be 20, the age we all remember with a cocktail of nostalgia, ambition, and maybe a few regrets. But what does 20 look like in 2025? For Gen Z, it's a high-speed balancing act between dreams and deadlines, hustle and healing. We've all heard the stereotypes, haven't we? Scroll addicted, overly sensitive, allergic to commitment. But behind the headlines and hashtags lies a generation that's rewriting all the rules. So, what's it really like to be 20 today? I'd like to find out. Living life at full volume in a world that never slows down. Hello, everyone. My name is Goldie, your co-host for this episode.
And I'm Lakshan, your other co-host for this episode. And this is episode 43 of Mind the GenGap podcast. We're in season 2 of our podcast, and the spirit of the season lies in inviting interesting people with very interesting perspectives to share their experience with us.
And I'd like to introduce our guest for today, Bruno Bofarull. Bruno is a 20-year-old force of nature, quite literally. Entrepreneur, hybrid athlete, content creator, and a full-time business administration student at ESADE in Barcelona. Whew. He kicked off his entrepreneurial journey just at 16. He promoted nightclubs and eventually he launched his own nightlife brand called El Capricho. But his path took a turn when he traded late nights for early mornings, shifting his focus to fitness, self-discipline, and storytelling. How? Now, Bruno leads a growing digital community through his daily Instagram reels, YouTube channel, and he documents his entire journey of marathon training, Ironman races, and a hybrid athleticism. He co-founded the Hybrid Crew, a run club that brings people together through movement, and is proudly sponsored by the Matrix Sports Nutrition. From content creation to coaching clients, managing family business commitments to pushing physical and mental limits, Bruno really is the kind of Gen Z who's not just challenging the stereotypes, he's actually rewriting them. I've known Bruno since he was a little boy, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you today. Welcome, Bruno. How are you feeling?
thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast, Goldie and Lakshan. I feel really excited to be here and a little bit nervous because it's my first podcast, but really, really looking forward for this conversation.
Oh, that's sweet. When you become famous, don't forget us.
Exactly. Hopefully one day.
Remember that the first podcast with you in it is going to be our podcast. So anyone searches your name on YouTube, it's our video that's going to pop up first.
Okay, so Bruno, as I was reading about you and learning all these things that you've done, I thought to myself, he's already lived multiple lives and he's only 20. Entrepreneur, athlete, content creator. How would you define yourself like in the moment right now?
So in the moment right now, I think I define myself more than working or fitness, more like a content creator. I'm focusing like all my energy now on this because it's what I really enjoy the most and what I think in long term will be more like will bring more benefits to me. And in the past I dedicated more time to like training people, being more like a personal trainer, and at the same time doing the content creation thing. But now my focus is on creating content for YouTube and Instagram.
So as Goldie was sharing, a bit of your story, I was very surprised to see all these various things that you experienced and tackled in the past 20 years of your life. And as Goldie said, it's like you lived multiple lives. I'm curious to know what has been your story like that has brought you to this point in your life right now.
So I've started kind of what Goldie introduced to kind of entrepreneur when I was 16, because I remember I went to nightclubs with Goldie's son with my friends, and I felt that kind of pissed, no, because I didn't want to like every weekend like kind of pay for going inside the club, and I thought like, what if I try to do my nightclub with a friend that he also thought the same as me, and this kind of inspired me to to create my brand with a friend, and also to think that this was kind of the life that I wanted to be my own like boss, to create my own path. And this has brought me to here, to YouTube and to content creation.
It's fascinating when you hear this whole idea of living the moment and maximizing on a profitability that can serve you to simply get you into a nightclub. But why should I pay? I'm hearing, and this is very exciting, because I think that is the definition of what we would see as an entrepreneur, even in our coaching world. If we're choosing to coach somebody, we want to see the person for who they are. And I do see an entrepreneurial spirit that drives you with the things that you choose. But when you say content, it makes me think, well, I think you're very happy to share with the world as well, which is something that's not so visible in other generations. And I think that's what's helping me to understand you as a person. So, I want to know, like, most people your age, may hesitate to start something new. Where did your courage come from?
So I've had my dad as not as a reference, because he's always like been working a lot in the hospitality sector, where we have like a family business, a restaurant, and he's always been like really disciplined to work in order to give us a good like standard of living and a good studies and everything. And I've always seen him as one of my idols, and I started because of him, because I felt that if I wanted to get something, if I wanted to have good grades, if I wanted to have followers, everything, I had to work for myself. And he's someone that has really inspired me to have this shift on my mindset.
So one of the things that we speak about, Goldie and I, in this podcast, Bruno, is the impact that our parents and that generation, our whole family has on the kind of people we become. Right? We speak about it a lot in terms of specifically fitness and health, and I can very much hear the kind of role and inspiration that your dad has been for you. What made you get into fitness and Ironman and all of these things?
So I remember I've started first of all with my dad in lockdown. We started going for a run, or going with the bike, or just doing some weights here at home. And I remember I broke with like my ex-girlfriend, and we had we've been together for we were together for like 2 years, something like that, and that really impacted me and like negatively. So instead of being all day kind of like sad and unhappy, I decided to try and find something that made me happy and kind of disconnect of everything. And that's where I started to go to the gym, and I with friends, and with myself. And that's the only like part of the day that I really enjoyed, being by myself with my own thoughts and just pushing myself to the limit. And that's where I noticed that sports was not just for myself to just be fit, but just also for my mind. And that's where I started to find that lots of peace and lots of enjoyment in doing all those type of sports.
I think we always look for these stories that give us the reason to do something, don't we, Lakshan? Especially when it comes to interviewing guests that bring more than just belonging to a generation. And we're talking to a Gen Z who, as we know, is And I'm sorry, but I keep referring to you as only 20, but you are very young. Yet you balance this this way of life where if you say you broke up with your girlfriend and that was a 3-year long relationship, I'm just imagining the amount of personal growth that even that relationship must have given you, and so young, and then having to overcome those emotional turmoils, and you chose fitness as your ally, which definitely is a lot of endurance, a lot of resilience. And I'm tempted to ask you if you've noticed that becoming so focused on fitness has enabled a discipline that maybe the average person your age doesn't have.
I think it has influenced like my discipline, the fact that I push myself and force myself to train every day, to eat healthy meals. And for example, for my last marathon prep, I think I've posted like 14 YouTube videos, and it's like really been tough. And all that discipline, all that making myself work for it, I've also like been able to put all that effort, for example, on my studies, and sports has shown me a lot and has made me grow as a person.
So, Goldie, I'm hearing that the impact of focusing on one thing is kind of positively showing up in other areas of his life as well now.
Yeah, it's rippling, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There's these waves that are being formed as you find, a sense, again, discipline. And, the quick question, what makes you do what you do, discipline or motivation?
I mean, motivation comes and goes, but discipline has to be there every
Yes.
day if you want to achieve that.
Yes.
So, of
Yeah.
course, like discipline, but also
Yeah.
you have to love what you do. If not, for the long
Mm.
term, it's difficult to be that.
It's not sustainable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one thing that, as you were talking about, this COVID period and your previous relationship and all of those things, I think all of us have experienced various experiences in our life where certain things kind of motivate us or they push us to uh, embark in a new direction. Typically, it's because we want to prove other people wrong or to prove something to other people. Right now in your life, Bruno, what drives you more? Proving something to yourself or proving something to other people?
Ooh, good question, this one. Right now, I think it's proving more to myself that I'm capable of achieving X, Y, and Z. But I'm not gonna lie, like at the beginning was kind of proving some to myself, of course, but also to the rest of the people that I was capable of doing an Ironman, for example, half Ironman, for example. But right now, the focus is on me, that I want to focus on achieving many things, and it's proving more to myself than to others.
And this is very interesting because your answer backs up something that is personal, so it's for you. But your passion currently and your investment, as you've mentioned, is in content creation, which is a very outwardly task, and it requires a lot of engagement with a community, so there's always this idea that we have, right, of Gen Z are super connected and they're on their TikToks and their reels, and they are essentially our content creators. It's what we see as advertising today, perhaps, versus what we used to see. And we've actually done an episode on this as well. What is the value that you perceive from this content creation that you're quite, I think you're loving it, because you do put out these videos, and 14 videos for the preparation of a marathon. That's more than the training. I'm just imagining you're consistently, and I've seen a picture of you with your selfie stick, so
Yes.
it goes with you everywhere.
Everywhere,
It's
yes.
it's an extension of you, I think. So what is the benefit that you notice from creating this content?
I think the biggest benefit of creating those content is to being able to know people that have the same ambition as you, the same objectives as you, and the same kind of vision. I'm doing, for example, the Run Club. I've announced it through my YouTube videos and everything. And the first day, many people showed up that I didn't know, that they just followed me on YouTube, and I know them, and now they are one of like my closest friends because they have like the same vision as me, the same kind of goals as me. And this is what I think is most like positive of creating content, that you are able to know people that you didn't know before, and lots of opportunities come to you because you are like, you have more vision than just sitting here without recording videos.
Yeah,
True.
and I think that's something that Goldie and I can also vouch for, because putting ourselves out there on the internet, either through this podcast itself, or Goldie with the work she does on Instagram, and myself with what I do on LinkedIn, it's allowed us to find people who can resonate with us, who are similar to us, who we can build longer term relationships with, and achieve certain things together. But older people generally look at Gen Z and think of them as people who are just addicted to their phones all the time, and on the phone, scrolling reels and TikToks and video games and all of these things. But there is this whole other side of Gen Z, which is very ambitious, which is very trying to go out there and make something of their lives, right? What do you think are certain um, like wrong beliefs that older generations have about Gen Z right now?
I think one is that we are lazy. Like my grandparents, my parents, they all think that most of my friends are lazy because, I don't know, you don't work, you're scrolling all day on TikTok, on Instagram. I mean, it's normal. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's like a new generation that they inspire, they get ideas from Instagram because it's the present, no? Like, my parents remember, they talk to me and remember that when I was your age, I didn't use Instagram all day. I was working, I was with friends, I was doing different things, but things change. And many people say that we are lazy, but I know lots of people from my age that they are completely opposite to what people's stereotype is about Gen Z, that they are completely focused on their objectives, on the long-term objectives. But it's true that some people are not that way. I think there's everything. No? There's people that are working for the objectives. There's people that are not working for the objectives because they're in different parts of they are in different like kind of seasons of their life. No, maybe they want to rest more because they have a period where they've worked a lot. But there's lots of people that think that we are lazy, but it's different. I think the laziness of our generation with the generation of our parents, and lots of people that I know are really ambitious, are working for the project, and they are studying, they are working, and nowadays, like, more and more people are starting to create content because I think it's kind of the future for us.
Hmm.
That's a very mature answer, Goldie.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, for me, I think what I'm really hearing is beyond leaps and bounds beyond what we, even as content creators ourselves, consider the purpose of creating content. What I hear in your answer, Bruno, is I want to impact the world to a point to make them understand that I'm here to make a difference. And the only voice or channel that can help me do that is, in this case, YouTube or Instagram Reels. And the bad reputation that you talk about, that your generation has, is going to exist, I think, for all generations. Even us Xers have a horrible reputation for being completely apathetic and non-emotional, but that's not really the case for a large other majority, or half and half maybe. The impact that you're creating through your YouTube, what message do you want to give to them, for those who have developed this bad reputation, and you're their ally because you are just like one of them? What would you tell them?
I remember when I first started, when I posted my first video, I was really, really shy, and I was really kind of worried about what people would think about my first video, what they would thought about me when I started posting content on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. And one of the biggest like kind of messages I want to like transmit to the people is that don't worry about other people's opinion, because they will always be there. Might be good opinion, might be bad opinion, but the thing is do, and you just have to let kind of the results speak by themselves instead of focusing what others people might talk about you.
So there's just all these things that you're currently doing, Bruno. Of course, you said your primary focus is on content creation, but then I also know that you are still in university and you're taking care of your education as well, and you're running and all this stuff that's happening, right? How are you able to keep all of these things going without burning out?
Well, I have a few burnouts in the past, because I mean, sometimes I get a little bit like anxious because I have many things to do. But one habit that I've kind of started doing like years ago, well, 1 year ago when I started university, is I dedicate like 40 to 45 minutes every Sunday just to plan like my week on the Google Calendar or the Apple Calendar, and I will write like when I have classes, when I have to work, when I have to train, when I have to have a meal, when I'm seeing a friend, when I'm doing different things. And this kind of has helped me to be consistent and really be organized to achieve different things at the same time, and has really helped me to keep going and avoid this kind of burnout. But this also can create sometimes anxiety, because if I do something delayed or something wrong, then the other things will get delayed, and it's all like a snowball effect.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like we're going through a similar life, but a lot
Yeah.
older, and we should have learned by now. But I'm glad that you're so much ahead of us, and preparedness is the word that's coming to me. I don't
Exactly.
think I remember having a access to a calendar when I was your age. Of course, we didn't have them back then. But yes, I mean, all jokes aside, I think I do. I really hear this side of you that's responsible for your actions, and you're very accountable for what you do. I sense that. Being at ESADE is no easy feat. It's obviously a university which is very demanding of their students, especially I think you're going to head into your third year,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So this can't be it's anything but easy. I want to ask you a question which is to do, with it's related to burnout, but about your support system. So we know that Gen Z have a fantastic reputation about understanding their mental health, and they recognize what is it that they need in order to keep that in check. Referring to your circuit of support, would you say that you have very, very clear who are the people that you would turn to when you need help or support, or who you want to be surrounded by, to benefit your well-being?
Yes, like I have like really clear that I have my like, small circle of friends, my family, my actual girlfriend, no, that, and all of this circle is the one that I have to rely on for support. And well, they've always helped me in every struggle, in and supported me in every video, in every different race, in every challenge. It's something that I've struggled. Well, 2 years ago when I started university, the change from going to school to university, that was really tough for me, because I remember that all my friends were going abroad to study. They were going to Madrid, they were going to Europe, all over the world, and I started to study BBA. And I think we were three Spanish guys in my class of a total of 70. And I remember the first day that I didn't have any friends, and it was completely new for me. And the first months was really like difficult for me, because I didn't know like who are my real friends now, because all of the change and all of this. But now I have it really clear. Yes.
Yeah, I think people underestimate how big a change, moving from school to university or college can be in today's day and age. Because, as you said, Bruno, there are people from all over the world coming and studying with you. There's so much newness that you have to kind of, what do you say, navigate and get used to, and adapt to, right? So apart from just what you shared about your transition from school to university, uh, you've also transitioned from this nice nightlife based entrepreneurship brand to what you're doing right now. What has helped you be as adaptable as you have been over the past few years that you've been doing all these things?
Well, I think the most kind of thing that has made me adapt to this new area has been, again, the support I had from my family and especially from my friends, but also my brother, my big brother. He's 4 years older than me. He also started, well, this entrepreneur journey, when he was younger as me. He was 15, 16. He also did the nightlife kind of parties and everything, and he has always advised me what to do, what not to do, and I think he has been one of the biggest supports I've always had. Well, again, with my dad.
Family and roots. This is some emerging in quite a big sense for me as I hear you speak about your support system between your dad, your brother, and I have no doubt that your mum's been pivotal as well. And I know her as a lady; she's extremely instrumental in shaping him. Um, you've seen so many different sides of both all these people, and you're coming into your own self being this person who I think is like a blend of all of them, because your dad has given you the fitness, your brother has mentored you for the nightlife, and now you're choosing your path and going down a route. Would you say that your future will have a glimpse of the hospitality industry in it, if any? Because I know that you root from heavily from the restaurant business. Is that something that you've considered?
Yes, it's something I've considered the past months. My brother opened, well, his first restaurant this February, and since then I've been working with him the weekend, and I've really enjoyed being there with him, and really working on the on this hospitality sector. And last summer I also worked in a restaurant and with the family restaurant, and it's something I believe I really enjoy, and I find it really fulfilling. But it's something that has to like you a lot, because it's a very sacrificed job and really tough, because you have to be there all day working, moving around. It's really, really tough. But in the future, I think it's a possibility for me to keep going with the family business, or with my brother or something. But I think it's a really, really beautiful sector to work with.
So one thing I know for a fact, Bruno, is that the restaurant business or the hospitality business is one of the most challenging, demanding uh, spaces of work in the world. I, there are restaurants that that come up and they get shut down immediately. It's very hard to maintain and really make it successful. But coming from a family that has been in this hospitality space for so long, I'm sure there's certain lessons that you've learned that you are taking away and applying in your life right now. So, what would you say is the biggest life lesson that you learned, having been a part of this space?
I think the biggest life lesson is that nothing comes for free in life, because you can be working, don't know, 14 hours there, and you still have to wash the dish, you have to clean the floor, you have to do many things. And I think the biggest lesson from the hospitality sector is, again, the discipline you have to put there in order to succeed, in order to have a good service for the client. And I think that's the most valuable lesson I've learned, that you have to work for something you want, and nothing comes for free. And yes, that's...
I think the grounding with which you um, embark on every project in your life is coming through. There's nothing that's taken for granted, whether it's, as you said, being on your feet for 14 hours, but somebody has to clean up. And I can see that happening in your fitness too, because we don't have great training sessions every single day, do we? But we have to have the eye on the ball and know that the end is what we're working towards. And sometimes what I'm sensing is that you really value the process more than the destination that actually comes across in your content. I've seen a few of your videos, and I noticed that you're very committed to showing the light and the shadows of what what the repercussions are of, completing an Ironman or becoming the face of a running club. So this question isn't on the charts, but I'm just coming up with it. What would you say are your top sort of 3 to 4 values in life? Core
I
values.
think, that's a good question. I think, first of all, the value that I value, like the thing that I feel most like identified, is being a good person, always trying to always share with the most how do you say it now in English, sinceridad, no? It's like showing always.
Being sincere.
Eso, yes, exactly. Being sincere to your, well, to your circle, and especially to yourself, and noticing what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right, and what we said before, like being accountable of yourself. Also, apart from this value, I think joy, no, because for the past months I've struggled a little bit, like with not mental health, but a little bit, anxiety, many different things, and I've kind of realized that we have to live always the present, because the tomorrow is not guaranteed for anyone. And one of my core values is like being happy, like being excited for what's gonna come, but especially for the moment that you are living now. And I think those two are the ones that are more like on top for me. Another one might be, again, like being. I think I'm a person who is really resilient. When I kind of have an objective on my mind, I work towards it, and I think that's really positive to have, to be resilient for a specific objective. This year I had a really tough subject on university, and it's been difficult to study, because I was like helping my brother. I was trying to create content, and I didn't study like any weekend. I only studied like at the end of the course, but I studied every day, every day, every day, and at the end I passed the exam. So I think being resilient is really important nowadays, and also is something that I really feel identified with.
I'm very impressed by how much you know yourself, because
Yeah.
it's very common. Like, I'm sure Goldie can also agree with me on this. Being in this coaching space that we're in, there are people who are much older than myself as well, who come into coaching conversations, and when we ask them about their values, they don't know what their values are. And for
Yeah.
you to be in a place where you're very clear on what your values are, it's uh, it's very nice to see that there are people who are taking care of themselves, and trying to learn about themselves so much, because being very aligned to your values is what gives you clarity on what you want to do in life in general as a whole, right? So now the question I have for you, Bruno, is, there's all this stuff that you've done at age 20, right? What is your biggest long term dream that you have, that you're working towards right now?
That's good. So my biggest like long term goal, and hopefully one day I will accomplish it, is to have my YouTube channel grown to, I don't know, lots of followers, and hopefully inspire lots of people to take action, to work for the objectives, for the project, and definitely be resilient and go one more, like go one extra mile, go one extra hour, go one extra day on working for that project, and share this message with many people.
That's lovely. I mean, it's when you were speaking about it, I could actually see all of your 3 main values being delivered in your message. There was so much honesty, because you recognize that it will take time to grow, but you're not there yet. There was this whole idea of live in the moment, because each video is the now. And the resilience was clearly the overarching topic, which is just go that extra mile, or go that extra day, and you'll make it. So that really is the embodiment of living with your values, right? It's being transmitted through his YouTube channel. I mean, that's what I'm picking up, frankly. We've really enjoyed. I mean, I'm loving this conversation, Bruno, and I'm
Me
actually
too.
learning from you. Believe me, it's a delight. I want to do some fun stuff now, and I think talking about beliefs and myths and false and true. We're going to play a little not a game, but just we're going to put you on the spotlight a bit more. And between Lakshan and I, we're going to ask you a few things. Make a statement, which is common beliefs that the world has about Gen Z. And we'd like you to answer with a yes or a no and a why for your answer. Is that good?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so Lakshan, why don't you go first?
Okay, fantastic. So the first common belief that we have is Gen Z can't function without their phones or social media. Is that true or
I
false?
th- I think it's true, but because we grew up with them. I mean,
Exactly.
many people use it as a like to pass time, no, like the dopamine effect, but many others use it as a tool and to build.
I think that's very justified. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So my one is they only know how to communicate online and avoid real world interaction.
Ooh, I think this is also true. Well, a mix, because I think this new Gen Z, no, with growing up with the phones, has made people decrease their like public speaking skills or being able to communicate face to face with people, to many, like for example, to close agreements or to something. And many people use the phones, the Instagram, because they don't have to see the other person. And this is something that I think has affected negatively, but also positively in a way, so that people can communicate to people that are in the other part of Earth. No? For example, now we're doing here Google Meet, and it's a tool, as I've said, but also it has its disadvantages that people nowadays like, and I include myself. We have like not as much skills of like public speaking with people face to face.
So the one that I have next, Bruno, is that Gen Z expects rewards without putting in the effort. True or false?
I think that's true. Eh? Like many people, no, yeah, I think it's true. Like many like friends that I have, they expect achieving this or having X amount of money, or how, I don't know, like achieving a good physique, for example, or doing a don't know, 3 hour marathon without putting the effort that's necessary for like being there. And for example, with my YouTube, I know I have to put lots of effort, and eventually, like it will happen. But many people are not um, are not looking forward to put that effort, and still they are looking for it, but to have that thing. So I think this is true. Yes.
So different to how you are, of course. This is the
Well, I mean,
you you
yes,
you
but
you express effort in everything you've done, and testament to what you've achieved. Um, Linked to that, my question is, they'll quit jobs at the drop of a hat if they're unhappy.
yeah, I think again it's true, because I mean, it's sad to see like now lots of people are working on a job that they don't like, and they just like start the day at 9, they're hoping for 5 to arrive, just go home and wait till Friday arrives to have all the weekend for partying or for resting or for doing different things. And I think eventually, like nowadays, for example, I remember my dad told me that there's a few people working as a carpintero. Sorry, I don't know how to say it in
A
English, but
carpenter.
a carpenter. So
Carpenter.
because there's lots of people that don't like to work as a carpenter, and
Yeah.
it's sad to see how people just want to, well, here in Spain, just to live from the money that the government gives them, the different aids they offer. And it's sad to see how people don't work as much for the well, for themselves and for different objectives.
So the next one that's coming up for me, Bruno, is um, they are fragile snowflakes who can't handle criticism or different opinions from theirs. True or false?
I think it's false, because again, there's a little bit of everything, but I think it's more false than true, because all the people I have in my surroundings, everything, like every time I say them, you've done this wrong, or they told me you've done this wrong, but just for helping, for like this positive like criticism is something that people have to think as positive, not negative, in order to be better. And and therefore have like a better outcome.
I think with every belief or question we're asking you, there is so much more to the window that's opening up for me as I hear you speak. And, we could go on, of course. It's a delight, as I said, to keep listening to you and your thought process. But we will wrap it up now. And I think in my personal conclusion, and I want to hear what Lakshan has to say, you represent a generation that has such a bad reputation, unfortunately, yet you're really challenging these stereotypes by sharing with us today what you're doing, and you're also owning. I love the fact that you're owning these things wholeheartedly, because yes, they're quitting jobs if they're unhappy, but I think in your case, I see a purpose there. So if this doesn't align with my purpose and vision, of course I'm not going to stay on, and I'm going to go look for something else that is truly embodying my core values, which I think at the end of the day is also a beautiful trait that we can all learn from Gen Z, in my humble opinion. And I want to thank you for giving us that optic, which we've not had yet on this show. A true representative of this generation who can come and share with us their story, because that is what the world needs more of. The understanding of a viewpoint of a generation that is actively going to be the new adult in the room, close with their close counterparts, the millennials. And I think that's really where I want to sort of set the tone on thanking you for being here with us. Lakshan, over to you.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic conversation, Bruno. I really appreciate as Goldie said, you've owned everything you've shared. I also want to appreciate you for how honest you've been, because it would have been very easy to, when we spoke about the beliefs section of the episode, to talk about your generation and say no, it's not that bad, and to defend them. But you're very honest in saying, hey, no, this is true, this is false, and this is the reason for the truth and the reasons for why it's false, right? So I want to appreciate you for that. We've been asking you so many questions from our end. If you have any questions from your end, we would love to answer them.
Please, yes, put us on the spotlight.
The spotlight. So what do you think about Gen Z?
I mean, I think if I answer that question, it's my favorite generation. And I've said this, I'm on record here. I've said it multiple times on every show that we've spoken about them. They are misunderstood, but they are so creative. And I think they need a bit more holding, a bit more nurturing. But when done in the right manner, I think they're very promising for us. That's my view.
Yeah, I agree with you, Guru. I think they are the most they are the generation with the highest potential, because their thinking is in a very, very different level, very different direction, and they're capable of a lot. But today they're in a place where either they don't have the right people to guide them, or they have the right people to guide them, but they're not ready to listen to that yet. They want to go ahead, make their own mistakes, and learn from those lessons. So I think that is the only real issue that they have, because once that is resolved, they're going to be flying and achieving amazing things. So just like Goldie, I have a very positive opinion of the generation, but sometimes they make it hard for us to have positive opinions, because you hear a lot of stories. So I find them very entertaining because of the stories they have, but I also have a lot of hope for them.
Yeah. As Sting says, you fall and you rise. That's Gen Z for you. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, with that, we've come to the end of episode 43 of Mind the GenGap podcast. I've been your co-host, Goldie.
And I've been your other co-host, Lakshan. Thank you so much for listening, watching, and tuning in all the way to the very end.
Muchísimas gracias. You're welcome.
See you in the next one.
Hasta pronto.
Adiós.
Bye. Adios.